Good evening. This is Ken Long from Tortoise Capital with a review of the daily trade for April 8th, 2013. Started off with a regression line crossover trade in CLF. That's Cliffs Natural Resources. So this was the close. Cliffs has been getting murdered. It's moved from 40 down to 18. It actually moved up sharply in the morning while the market was very weak, and so this looked like an opportunity to get on board maybe a rebound in a stock that was outperforming the market. So when you have a stock that's very weak but which is moving up while the market itself is selling off, then you know what you have is real buying interest inside that symbol. That's my hypothesis. So we had an open. It shot up to 19, pulled back. The ribbon didn't accompany it, so we know that most of that volume was here inside the ribbon. Sold off down, but held support above the Bollinger Band mean, and then started taking off again. And now here we have price, the ribbon, the 30 period, the 10 period regression lines, all above the river and moving out. So go ahead and buy this at 18.75. With a 20-cent stop here. And what we have is a failure almost immediately after that. It comes down, and when the ribbon crosses the Bollinger Band mean, I go ahead and take that exit at 1860 for a minus 0.8 R. A professional loss. I don't wait for the whole R in this one because once it breaks below this piece of the ribbon here, I'm getting out anyway. So I'm looking for minor improvement. You can see while this was failing, the 10 period failed pretty quickly. The 30 period regression line rolled over as well. So we take a professional loss here at minus 0.8 R for the first trade of the day. A little bit later, we're stalking TNA. That's the triple leveraged Russell 2000. It had opened up, gained, sold off to the bottom of the river here, basically failed at the Bollinger Band mean, came back to the bottom of the river, came up, failed at the Bollinger Band mean, but this time didn't fail back to the bottom of the river and actually started to moving up. It looked to me like the slope of the 30 was starting to roll over, and so I treat this as a ready, fire, aim. My thinking is that the market's getting stronger. We've got a double bottom with a slightly rising river, and I want to front run price when it leaves the river up here around 40.95. So I go ahead and make my entry at 40.65 in this support that it's finding just vicinity of the Bollinger Band mean. That's not a regression line crossover or sideways quiet channel, and that's why I classified this as a ready, fire, aim. No sooner does it do that than we get a gift move from 40.65 immediately to 41. And on a 0.2 initial stop, that's 2R in hand at this little peak. We get a lower high here, and it starts failing back into the river. And I think, I'm just going to cash that one. So I get my exit at 40.90, and that's about 1.2R, maybe a little bit more. Maybe it's actually 1.6 now that I look at it. I was sensitive to having this gift in hand. I was down minus 0.8 on the first one. I like to get money in hand as early as possible, so I go ahead and cash this one. So now we're net positive for the day. Because this was a ready, fire, aim, I really don't have much belief in the follow through here anyway, so I'm willing to take that trade with a win in hand. Now, right after that sell-off, it comes down and then finds support vicinity of the Bollinger Band mean, and then starts to move back up here on this second 3-minute bar after this little sell-off. And so now what I'm looking at is this was the initial support on the first trade on TNA. That was the double bottom. That was the gift 2R move. And then I'm looking locally here at a higher low and a higher low, and now finding support. So I want to try to, again, front run this. I think it's at least going to go up and test this at 41. That wouldn't surprise me. And then my thinking is if I can enter here and it gets through 41.01, I'm really willing to take a look at adding a second position here, because then I think it's going to get through this price ribbon over here. So that's my contingency plan for how to add to that position. But shortly after, as I'm marking this chart up, It sells off here, and I end up taking an exit at 40.65 because now it looks like we've got a double failure at the Bollinger Band mean, and I think it's going to come down and test here. So I don't want to stick around. So I get out at 40.65. Well, much to my surprise, not really, because these things happen all the time. It actually doesn't fail out of the river. It actually finds support here at the bottom of the river, which is where it's supposed to. And now it starts incrementing up, and I'm feeling good about this because volatility is declining. We're now through the first 90 minutes, 2 hours of the morning session. It hasn't really failed below this initial stop that we'd put in on the very first trade. And now I like the fact that the 30 is going back up. So re-entry is the key to sanity. So I had an entry, an immediate sell-off, get chased out of that position, and then 6 minutes later I'm re-entering once more. Lather, rinse, and repeat. So we get the entry at 40.62 with a 30-cent initial stop once more. And while that is happening, the XIV, which is the inverse of the VIX, is already out of the river and moving up. And I'm thinking, TNA is showing some strength. The S&P is showing some strength. The volatility is declining. So I like this entry here at 23.53, entry on the long side with a 15-cent stop below the mid Bollinger Band mean. This one actually takes off and starts moving up nicely. Once we get bounce off the river and going, that's when I start raising my stop, and I'm using the bottom of the river as my trailing stop. And now when we get this breakout above 23.68, which was clear in that previous intraday high, that's where I really start liking this thing, and I'm going to lock in a profit now and move my stop up, and now the Bollinger Band mean is going to be my moving or my trailing stop. So I like this one at 23.69 with an entry from 23.53. I've got an R in hand, and it's just starting to move out, and I like that. So tighten up the stop, lock in the win, and then start trailing it with the Bollinger Band mean. If I get 2R in hand with momentum, I'm going to reinforce that one with a second position. And in fact, that's exactly what happens. So we're riding this thing up on the Bollinger Band mean in the river. We get clearance here at 23.80, new high of the day. I like this. I add a second position at 23.83, again with a 15-cent stop, and then right after that it rockets up past 24. So I'm tightening this one up, and I'm using the top of the river now as my trailing stop. Meanwhile, the TNA front run back in here, you recall we entered, failed immediately, re-entered once more, and this is our 30-cent stop, entry at 40.62. It grinds its way north, and then as XIV is starting to take off, it breaks above this intraday high here, this little spike, which was our 2R gift back earlier in the morning. This thing really takes off, and that's not unusual to see, where it goes from this kind of grinding sideways quiet channel and then really explodes once resistance has been removed, almost like the pressure relief valve, and boom, off it goes. So when it does that, we were prepared all the way up here that if it ever clears here, we're gonna enter immediately. So we get our second position, and now at 41.01 with a 20-cent stop, we're tightening up this move, this trailing stop, and then as it runs away from us, we get up into the easy money, not easy money, we get up in here into this trailing stop, and then it starts chopping around sideways, and so right in here I decide I'm going to use this as my stop, because now I've got two positions in. Even if it comes back and hits this, I'm going to be in the money, so I sort of like that trade. Now back over to TNA. That's what we've got our second trade in on TNA, and it runs all the way up to 41.65, and now we're about 10 or 12 minutes before the close, and go ahead and cash that one at 41.65 for 6R on a combination of a 0.3 and a 0.2R that works out to 6R. And the XIV trade, where we got our two entries in here, it ran up all the way to 24, started drifting back, and that felt there's a regression line crossover. This one felt like it was done, and this was just a 0.15 initial stop. So we go ahead and cash that one at 24 on the fade, and with an entry from 23.53 and 23.83 exiting at 24. That gives us 4 hour. And I want you to notice how that price, for the most part, is riding the north shore of the river and is out here in that floodplain, which is the plus 2 standard deviation. This little peak run up here, this looked to me like an exhaustion move because it even ran away from the floodplain. Then when it starts pulling back and we're getting close towards the last hour, I'm looking to preserve profits because I'm going to be out of this thing before the close anyway. And so between those last two trending trades, we pull in about 10R, and then we were some fractional wins from the morning. So a pretty good day at work. That's Ken Long with Tortoise Capital with a review of a trading sequence today. I think what's important to notice is just starting slow, cashing them when you get them. Bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush on the ready, fire, aim trade. And then once we start getting some money into the trades, we can relax that a little bit and then let the trend work. Notice the grinding kind of a move that it's finding support where it's supposed to, and that is along the Bollinger Band mean. And that after regression line crossovers, we think price is going to come back and test the Bollinger Band mean. It did it here. It did it here. And then when it finds support, that is a very strong indication of trend continuing. It's behaving the way it's supposed to. Narrow river, finding support at the Bollinger Band mean. The 30-period regression line stayed out of the river the entire move up here until this last move where it pulled back to test the bottom side of the river. So that 30-period regression line with respect to the river itself is a very important signal to me. I like the fact that down here the 30 crossed from below the Bollinger Band mean and crossed above, and sort of signaling the start of this long trend that lasted all the way up, for 4 hours until up in here. So some indications to look for, and thoughts on managing the trades. That's Ken Long from Tortoise Capital. Keep your powder dry and your risk measured.